Welcome back to, at this particular moment, a very sunny New York. Of course, many of the headlines about South America in the past few years have been about the leftist firebrands who were whipping up sentiment against the United States. They vary from, on the one hand, Hugo Chavez of Venezuela, to my next guest. Also, here he is, Evo Morales of Bolivia. Mr. President, thank you very much for being with us. Here we are at the UN at the moment, and as you're there with all of those delegates and so on, do you look around and think you're surrounded by friends or surrounded by enemies?
Por ambos.
Both. Have you got anything important out of being here this week? Have you learned things this week?
Siempre es una gran lección para mí.
I always learn many lessons, and there are always very useful opportunities for bilateral meetings and for securing bilateral commitments. For example, the meeting I had with China on Monday went very well. I secured a commitment for a satellite to be built by China that will be used exclusively by Bolivia. This morning, I met with Iran, and I secured a commitment of almost a $3 million loan for 2 cement factories. And I've just met with the president of the Inter-American Development Bank, which is going to commit $100 million for the construction of a hydroelectric plant with a capacity of 100 megawatts.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. You said once, since President Obama was elected, you said, quote, "My interest is how to improve relations with the new president." Have you found ways to do that yet, or has the new relationship not started yet?
Es todo un proceso.
It's all a process. So far, we haven't met. And yet we have made a proposal for a new relationship, one based on dignity and on cooperation, not on meddling. A proposal based on solidarity and on complementing one another, rather than competition. Even so, there's not been any response yet. So we will wait patiently, and we will look forward to that. But I have no results yet.
Pero no tenemos ningún resultado.
Because you expelled the American ambassador, and they then expelled your ambassador. Do you have an American ambassador there at the moment? Probably not. When do you think there'll be another American ambassador there in your capital?
Primero, obligado a asumir esa responsabilidad.
First, we had to assume the responsibility of expelling that ambassador. Ambassador Goldberg, an expert in dividing countries, was engaged in a conspiracy against my government. The bilateral relations between the two countries should revolve around issues of investment, business, not political meddling, and certainly not conspiring against the government of the country. Since his expulsion, the opposition has been in disarray. We have faced very little opposition since then, but there's not been yet exchange of ambassadors. This is something that's in the hands of the United States, and we look forward to it.
So is it conceivable that the two countries, Bolivia and the United States, could become friends? Or is that really impossible? Are you natural rivals?
Nuestro deseo seamos amigos, socios.
Our great desire is to be friends, to be partners, each country respecting the right of the other country, each respecting the interest of the other country. This should govern our relations. This is what we look forward to, and it's in the hands of President Obama.
Do you think, in fact, South America is going more and more towards left-leaning governments, but socialist governments? Is South America going your way?
Es todo un proceso de liberación. Entre décadas 50, 60, 70, hasta 80.
It's a whole process of liberation. If you look at the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, and the 1980s, there were any number of military dictatorships at the service of US imperialism. From rebellions during colonial times 200 years ago, now we see revolutions and the modern generations looking to transform the situation. This liberation, I'd say it's a second liberation, is irreversible. They are deep processes based on social movements. Therefore, the installation of US forced military bases in Colombia is a threat. It's a provocation. But in its effect, it has no future because there is an anti-imperialist conscience. There is a mood of liberation among the people. They want to seek the end of empires.
Acabar con los imperios por parte de los pueblos.
And you, of course, have one amazing fact to your strength, which is that you're the first time an indigenous president of Bolivia, for the first time in the 450 years since the Spaniards first came here. That's extraordinary. One in 450 years. Congratulations.
Well, it's just a matter of a turn of events in my life, that this responsibility of leading my country fell on my shoulders.
And talking of that responsibility, you've changed the constitution so that now you can run again in the next election. Are you confident? And will you do it again? Will you do it a third time if you win the second time?
Y quiero comentarlo algo. La derecha, los opositores, hicieron una encuesta hace unas 3 semanas atrás.
Let me tell you, the right wing has carried out a poll on who was the best and who was the worst president of Bolivia since the 1980s. And it turns out that I was evaluated as being the best. And the worst was the president who escaped to the United States after carrying out a massacre. So this is, as I say, wholly carried out by the right wing. So we're quite confident. We're very confident. I also have the movement to socialism, the political instrument that we had as being able to solidify a very broad coalition with all of the social movements headed up by the glorious and historical Central Obrera Boliviana, which is the main trade union federation. So I'm not thinking of any third term. I never thought about a second term. It's something that was proposed to me by the people of Bolivia. Indeed, I never dreamt of becoming president. So I think after my presidential term ends, I look forward to going back to the Chapare and cultivating a small plot of coca leaf.
Looking at the leadership of the countries of South America, as I've been doing particularly recently, it is amazing to me how dangerous a job being a leader of a South American country is. Almost everybody has had their narrow escapes and so on. In your case, there was one occasion when you were beaten near to death by Umopar, was it? And have you come face to face with the possibility of death on many occasions while you've been in politics?
Bueno, en la lucha sindical.
In the course of the union struggle, I have been prosecuted. I have been tortured. I have been confined. I have been jailed, many things. Nevertheless, in my time as president, I have had information coming to me about so many threats, about operations, about attempts on my life. But thanks to the protection of our Mother Earth and my security team, there haven't been any problems so far. Despite this information we have received. So as was the case during the time as a union leader and now as president, I hope that nothing will happen to me.
Do you think that Chile will ever come up with a road, a bridge to the sea, a way to the sea that you desire so much? Do you think Chile will do that for you?
La meta es llegar al mar.
Our goal is to reach the sea. I still have the faith that Chile would propose something to satisfy a historic demand of ours.
Who do you think of as your closest friend among other countries? Is there one closest friend?
Bueno, desde un punto de vista
From the point of view of ideological and political agreement and solidarity, Cuba, Fidel, but also Chavez in terms of cooperation. In Europe, Zapatero. There are so many presidents and governments that are providing cooperation to my country.
Hay tantos gobiernos, presidentes que cooperan con mi país.
Well, it's been a great joy talking to you and covering the field like this, Mr. President, and I hope we do it again soon because I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Our thanks to Evo Morales there. In a moment, a change of pace for the end of the program, Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia.